What would you feel if you were a 6-year-old girl forced into a marriage with a king many times older than you? For young girls in royal families, childhood was stolen, and every decision in their lives was dictated by adults and political forces. One mistake, one careless word, or an incorrect gesture could forever alter their fate. In the opulent palace, where dim golden light fell on gilded walls, young girls stood trembling before the judgment of kings and queens, while the court observed. Stories of pain, sacrifice, and sometimes even death were hidden behind walls of luxury. Yet these marriages had profound political implications for entire dynasties and nations. Young brides faced relentless trials, from adapting to their new roles, learning to satisfy their husbands, to participating in royal intrigues to protect themselves and their families. Every day was a battle for survival, with every action monitored, leaving them constantly fearful. Viewers can feel the tension and tragedy, imagining themselves as one of these girls, forced into political marriage, robbed of childhood, and fighting to survive and maintain honor. These royal marriages were not just family matters, they shaped politics, power, and the future of nations. One might ask, could these young girls survive such harsh marriages? Who would thrive? Who would fail? And what was the cost of power? These questions pull viewers deeper into the story, exploring the dark truths behind crowns and royal alliances. The story takes place in 16th century England, where royal alliances were cemented through political marriages. The main character is Elizabeth, a 6-year-old princess, daughter of a powerful noble family. From birth, her fate was intertwined with power and politics. As her family sought to strengthen their position relative to neighboring dynasties, Elizabeth had little understanding of marriage or authority. Yet from her first days in the palace, she faced a strict system of rules and unnamed challenges. She was married to King Edward, 23 years her senior, as part of a political alliance between two dynasties. On her very first encounter, Elizabeth felt alienation, pressure, and fear. A palace room filled with soft golden light, long red carpets, yet every movement was scrutinized. She had to learn how to bow correctly, walk gracefully, and speak properly, to avoid offending the court or losing favor. Alongside her was the chief queen, the ultimate authority in the court. The queen not only managed all the concubines in attendance, but was also a master strategist, manipulating the girls as pieces to control the king and the court. Elizabeth soon realized that survival in the palace required intelligence and strategic thinking, not just obedience or beauty. Every misstep could make her a target of schemes. The palace also included senior officials and attendants, constantly monitoring all actions, looking for mistakes to exploit politically. Elizabeth had to observe, analyze, and calculate every interaction, if she wanted to survive and maintain her position. Senior concubines were veteran strategists. Having spent years navigating the court, they knew how to influence the king, form alliances, and neutralize rivals. Elizabeth quickly learned she must read situations, anticipate threats, and seize opportunities without drawing suspicion. The historical and political context emphasized that these marriages affected not only the individual, but also dynastic alliances, political stability, and sometimes the fate of nations. A misstep or loss of favor could have long-term political consequences. The viewers can see that the court was a luxurious but merciless world, where power, favor, and adaptability determined survival. Elizabeth had to learn how to handle pressure, navigate intrigue, and survive in a high-stakes environment. The story reveals the price paid by young girls for political power, where childhood, freedom, and personal happiness were sacrificed for family and national interests. Upon entering King Edward's palace, Elizabeth realized that royal marriage was not merely ceremonial, but a battle for survival and political influence. Her first night included a presentation to the king and court, where every gesture and word was closely observed. One mistake could lead to loss of favor, family dishonor, or direct danger. She had to learn how to bow correctly, walk gracefully, and speak politely, while also trying to gain the king's favor without angering the queen or rival concubines. Senior concubines, having survived years in court, were masters of manipulation, forming alliances and neutralizing new or weaker rivals. Elizabeth quickly realized that survival depended not on age or beauty, but on intelligence, observation, and strategic thinking. A major challenge was adapting to her role as a royal bride while still very young. Learning court rules and understanding her political significance The first days acted as continuous tests of survival, proving obedience, tact, and poise to gain favor. Every small detail, from a bow to a glance or word, carried life-changing weight. Tensions escalated as Elizabeth faced rivalries among concubines, who competed for the king's favor, position, and influence. She had to analyze, predict, and choose moments to act or remain silent, balancing humility with strategy. The court's trials also assessed mental resilience and adaptability, with officials watching for errors that could lead to punishment or expulsion. The climax occurred when Elizabeth was led to the king's private chamber, where every action was scrutinized, and a single decision could affect her family's fate. Viewers witnessed psychological pressure, intrigue, and tension, highlighting the contrast between the palace's luxury and the harsh reality of political marriage. Every trial and maneuver shaped her survival and potential influence in the court, emphasizing the cost of political alliances. This section highlights the brutality and stakes of royal marriage, the psychological and social pressures on young girls, and the strategic thinking required to survive and adapt. Audiences see the juxtaposition of opulence and hidden danger, making the story both shocking and compelling. Elizabeth's trials were not just personal, they reflected the political and social mechanisms of the court. Each ritual, test, or evaluation determined her position, family power, and political influence. A misstep could result in loss of favor, weakened alliances, or exploitation by rivals. The consequences extended beyond Elizabeth. Royal marriages affected international alliances, court stability, and sometimes national fate. A girl's fall from favor could disrupt political connections, leading to tension or shifts in alliances. Personal tragedies often became historically consequential, showing that private struggles could influence public affairs. Senior concubines and the queen used manipulation to maintain power, forcing young girls to adapt and strategize. Survival required obedience, observation, and careful action, demonstrating that strategic intelligence was as vital as beauty or charm. These political marriages shaped the thinking and behavior of young girls, producing influential figures capable of affecting dynastic decisions and international alliances. Their trials highlight the intersection of personal suffering and historical impact. This analysis emphasizes that royal marriage was a system of power, control, where girls like Elizabeth had to survive, adapt, and use intelligence. The intrigues and tragedies shaped the court and determined the destiny of nations, creating stories that are both shocking and historically significant. Throughout European history, political marriages of young girls were not limited to Elizabeth. A notable example is Mary, Princess of Scotland, married at age 9 to strengthen the alliance between Scotland and France. She had to leave her family, adapt to an unfamiliar environment, and endure intense pressure from the French court. The preparation for her role as queen brought mental and physical challenges, where every decision could impact the nation's future. Another example is Catherine de Medici. Promised in marriage as a child to Henry II of France, Catherine had to adapt to a foreign court, navigate intrigue and rivalry among concubines, and survive relentless political pressure. She quickly realized that adaptability and strategic thinking were essential, and every action could influence power and the fate of the monarchy. In the Spanish court, many young girls faced similar fates. These marriages were not only political alliances, but also tools to control territories, gain military advantages, and maintain dynastic power. Young girls married to older kings or princes had to learn to adapt, read the political landscape, and preserve both honor and life. Additional minor stories include girls undergoing strict court rituals, learning how to serve, and interacting with the king, while facing pressure from queens and senior concubines. Every detail, bowing glances, and words could become a turning point in their personal and political future. These supporting examples illustrate that political marriages were a system of relentless challenge, where childhood, freedom, and personal happiness were sacrificed for power, political strategy, and national interests. They highlight the pain, pressure, and survival skills young girls needed to develop early, and showed that individual choices could affect the fate of an entire dynasty. Through these stories, viewers can see the broader picture of political marriages, where young girls were not just passive participants, but mental warriors, learning to survive, adapt, and influence events. Despite being too young to fully comprehend the weight of their responsibilities, the political marriages of young girls like Elizabeth, Mary, and Catherine were not merely personal stories, they were turning points in history. Their childhood, freedom, and personal happiness were sacrificed to serve power, alliances, and political interests. Every action in the palace could affect the fate of their families, and sometimes the entire nation. These girls had to learn to adapt, think strategically, and survive. Survival in such a harsh environment not only preserved their lives, but also enabled them to shape court decisions, marriage alliances, and even international diplomacy. These challenges created strong, intelligent, and strategically capable individuals who quietly influenced history in ways often unseen. Political marriages also illustrate the nature of power in royal courts. It was not only exercised by kings but maintained through adaptability, strategy, and survival skills of individuals. The intrigues, trials, and personal tragedies endured by these young girls were crucial in shaping dynastic and national outcomes, demonstrating that even the smallest individuals could influence the course of history. Viewers are reminded that power always comes with sacrifice and trials. Young girls in political marriages paid a high price to protect honor, family status, and national interests. Though too young to understand the full responsibilities, their experiences shaped the flow of history and the authority of the court. The story of child brides in royal families highlights both the cruelty and strategic nature of power, and the hidden influence of seemingly powerless individuals. They are living proof that, throughout history, even small figures could determine the fate of a nation, and the secrets, challenges, and tragedies of their lives continue to resonate today.